the first thing that medicine goes to, of course, is medication. So I'll go there first. So all the medications, all the normal painkillers do not affect neuropathic pain. The commonly used, the anti-inflammatories, paracetamol, acetaminophen, and all the normal codeine and so on, these do not make a jot of difference with neuropathic pain. There are two main types of medication that are used worldwide. And the big disclaimer here is that they work, but they don't work well. And I think this is terribly important. And they all have side effects. So and they work in two places. The first lot are anti-epilepsy medications. And anti-epilepsy medications work on the nerve itself. So if you look here, the lining of this nerve, this axon, actually has, all the way along it, it's got these tiny little holes in the axon wall. And the hole is, inside the hole is a pump, which pumps sodium against a concentration gradient. So it pumps the sodium ions, which have a little charge, and it pumps so that it creates an electrical charge across the membrane. So these sodium pumps are incredibly important because it pumps till it reaches a threshold and then it fires, and then the nerve is turned on. So the nerve has a on-off switch, doesn't have a half on, it's either on or off, which is why the pain that you feel is either on, so you go from nothing to, God, that's horrible. So what you try and do with the anti-epileptic medications are that you try and stabilize the membrane of the nerve by affecting the sodium pumps so that they're not as active. And the most commonly used are Tegretol, which is used for trigeminal neuralgia, and pregabalin and gabapentin, which are the most widely used medications. Now, there's a new way of looking at medication, which is something called number needed to treat, NNT. If you ever read that, if you look at a new wonderful medication, go to a big study and look up NNT, number needed to treat. And what this means is, how many people do you need to treat before you get a 50% pain reduction? That's a good thing to know. And the NNT of gabapentin and of pregabalin is about 6. So 5 people are going to have less than 50%, and the one person is going to have more than 50% pain reduction, which is dismal, but it's the best there is. So so if you get 30 to 50% pain relief on any of these medications, you're a rock star. Then the second big group are the antidepressant medications. And these are, and there are 2 groups of antidepressant medications. The first are the tricyclics, that's amitriptyline, nortriptyline, and a few others. And these medications, and then the second group are the serotonin, noradrenaline reuptake inhibitors. And all of these medications, their primary way they work is that they work at the synapse where one nerve talks to another. So all of these medications are actually working on the central sensitization component. And I'm making this very clear because you have nerve damage. You try and control and make the nerve less grumpy. Maybe you can fix it if you find an underlying cause, but if you don't, then you've got a grumpy nerve that's going to fire. But when it fires and it comes to the spinal cord, it hypes up the pain system. And so you can see what I'm leading towards is the fact that mind-body techniques have a huge role to play. They do. Because always with neuropathic pain, there is a pain system malfunction that occurs with it. So for the medications, amitriptyline, nortriptyline, duloxetine, which is Cymbalta, Savella, which is milnacipran, venlafaxine, which is Effexor, all of these medications, what they do is they change the transmitters at where one nerve talks to another. They change how they function, and in so doing, they normalize your pain system function, or they improve your pain system function. And again, their results are no better than the others. So number needed to treat. Interestingly, amitriptyline has the best number needed to treat, and it has a number needed to NNT of 3. If you treat 3 people, you will get 50% pain relief. Little problem, little being like this, that is at 150 milligrams of amitriptyline, which is enough to put a medium-sized elephant to sleep for a week. So none of them is great, really. They all come with their host of problems, and often you have to mix and match. So you try a dose and you build that dose up until you reach a certain point and you think, any more, God, I feel terrible. But at this dose, I've got some pain relief. Then you add in something else, make sure they don't fight with each other, increase that dose until you find, yes, okay, I'm feeling a bit better. So you use as many as you can. So the other big groups of medications are opioid. So opioids, really the bad guys. And of the opioids do not work well for neuropathic pain. And if you have neuropathic pain and your doctor starts you on morphine or OxyContin, do not be excited, be nervous. Of all the opioids, the one that seems to work the best for neuropathic pain is methadone. Methadone, which is the cheapest, but it's the most complicated to use and, in fact, probably the most dangerous of all the opioids. So methadone, if you get the dose right, again, you have a number needed to treat similar, sort of 6 or 7. Not exciting. But again, when you add them together, you may get some added benefit. And the last are the cannabinoids, which is all the marijuana. These are just like the opioids where you've got receptors in your body, you've got cannabinoid receptors all the way through your brain and your spinal cord. And so the medications that we use, which is now the new sort of holy grail of an anti-neuropathic pain medication, of all the complex mixtures of THC and CBD and all the mixtures of the different kinds of cannabinoid medications, again, the results are not exciting in terms of pain, of neuropathic pain. All very similarly slightly effective, but have side effects and have problems. So the answer to the thing with this whole complex picture of neuropathic pain is there is no simple solution. If you find one or more medications, if you get the dose just right and they add to each other because they come in from different angles, you may find that you get 30 to 50% pain relief or even better. That is wonderful. And with minimal side effects, and all of these affect nerves, and most of the nerves live in your brain. So most of their major side effects are cognitive. So you can't think clearly, so you feel sleepy, so you may feel dizzy, you may forget things, and on and on and on. And then there are a whole lot of other side effects each one has. So you have to enter into this minefield if you have neuropathic pain carefully not being pushed into anything, slowly starting at a very low dose, because because everything is sensitized, and then slowly increasing. Feel like crap, doesn't work, throw it away, next. So you have this thing of, there's this whole smorgasbord, which ones are going to suit me, and then you find out the minimum dose that's going to be effective with the minimum amount of side effects, but you often have to mix and match. Okay, so that's medication. And then the thing that we talk a lot about in the club is mind-body or neuro-mind techniques. And they absolutely have a place in neuropathic pain, because a huge part of neuropathic pain is the fact that your pain system hypes up the messages and sensitizes them, and then you have the whole neuroplastic effect in your brain. So the things that we are focusing on with mind-body techniques are incredibly important. And with neuropathic pain, it's harder, because it's this hotline, it's this thing that just is an on-off switch, bang, it comes on. But if you get it right, what you'll find is that the pain will occur less often, and it will perhaps last for less length of time. There'll be more control over the pain. Once it's turned on, it will be intense, but there will be less of it. If you got, say, sort of 15 pulses over a minute, which leave you shattered, you may only get 6 or 4, and it's not as often. So it absolutely is worthwhile practicing these neuromind techniques as part of the bigger picture of neuropathic pain.